In the heart of a fractured Britain, a kingdom mourned. Uther Pendragon, the great king, had fallen, leaving no heir to claim the throne. The land was adrift, a ship without a rudder, tossed on the violent seas of ambition and greed. Barons and lords, once bound by loyalty, now saw only opportunity. They sharpened their swords and their wits, each believing the crown was their birthright. The realm teetered on the brink of a devastating civil war, its people praying for a savior, a sign from the heavens. In this age of uncertainty, a whisper began to travel on the winter winds, a rumor of magic and destiny. The Archbishop of Canterbury, guided by the enigmatic sorcerer Merlin, called for a grand tournament in London. He summoned all the noble knights and lords of the realm, not just for sport, but for a greater purpose. A miracle was promised, a divine intervention that would reveal the one true king and unite the broken kingdom once and for all. Hope, a fragile ember, began to glow in the hearts of the common folk. As the first light of Christmas morning broke over London, a marvel was discovered in the churchyard. There, nestled amidst the ancient tombstones, stood a great stone, and embedded deep within it was an anvil of solid steel. And from the anvil, a magnificent sword protruded, its hilt gleaming with promise. Inscribed upon the stone in letters of gold were words that would echo through history. Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all England. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. This was the sign. The test had been set. The strongest and most arrogant knights were the first to try their luck. One by one, they stepped forward, puffed with pride, convinced of their own might. Sir Ector, a respected nobleman, watched from the crowd with his sons. His eldest, Sir Kay, a newly knighted and ambitious young man, scoffed at the other's failures. His younger son, a boy known only as Arthur, stood by his side, his eyes wide with wonder, a squire with no title to his name, just a pure and humble heart. Each knight strained, their muscles bulging, their faces contorted with effort. They pulled, they heaved, they cursed, but the sword remained unmoved, as if it were part of the very earth itself. The stone did not yield, the sword did not budge a single inch. Laughter turned to frustration, and arrogance to humiliation. It became clear that mere strength was not the key. The sword was waiting for something more, for someone worthy not just in might, but in spirit. As the tournament began, a moment of panic struck Sir Kay. He had forgotten his own sword at their lodging. "Go back and fetch it for me," he commanded his younger brother, Arthur. Ever dutiful, Arthur raced back, only to find the house locked and empty, everyone having gone to the jousting fields. Desperate not to fail his brother, Arthur's mind raced. Then he remembered he had seen a sword, a beautiful, unclaimed sword, resting in a churchyard. He didn't know its story. He hadn't read the golden inscription. He saw only a solution to his problem. He ran to the churchyard, deserted now as all eyes were on the tournament. He saw the stone, the anvil, and the magnificent blade. Without a second thought, without a shred of ambition or a desire for glory, he approached it. He was not trying to become a king. He was simply trying to be a good brother. He placed his hands on the hilt. It felt warm, as if it were alive, humming with a power he couldn't comprehend. With a gentle, almost effortless pull, the sword slid from the stone. There was no resistance, no struggle. It slipped free as smoothly as a key in a lock. The blade shimmered in the pale morning light, its edges sharp and its steel singing a silent song of destiny. Arthur stood there, a simple squire holding the sword in the stone, unaware that he held the future of Britain in his hands. He was just happy he had found a sword for his brother. When Arthur presented the sword to Sir Kay, his brother immediately recognized it. His eyes widened, a storm of ambition and envy brewing within. He saw his chance. He went to their father, Sir Ector, and declared, "Father, look, I have the sword from the stone. I must be the king." But Sir Ector was a wise and just man. He looked at his son, then at the legendary sword, and knew something was amiss. He took both his sons back to the churchyard and demanded the truth. Under his father's stern gaze, Sir Kay confessed that it was Arthur who had pulled the sword. Sir Ector's heart swelled with a mix of awe and disbelief. He commanded Arthur put the sword back in the stone. Arthur, bewildered, obeyed. Sir Ector then told Sir Kay to try and pull it out. Kay strained with all his might, but the sword was once again immovable. Then Sir Ector himself tried, but he'd failed. His eyes filled with tears as he looked at the boy he had raised as his own. "Now you try, Arthur," he said, his voice trembling. Again, Arthur stepped forward. Again, he wrapped his small hands around the hilt. And again, with the same impossible ease, he drew the sword from the stone. In that moment, the truth was undeniable. Sir Ector and Sir Kay fell to their knees before the boy. "My lord," Sir Ector said, his voice thick with emotion, "you are the king." Arthur was stunned. "But why me? I am your son." It was then that Sir Ector revealed the secret he had kept for so long. Arthur was not his biological son, but a babe given to him by Merlin for safekeeping, the hidden child of Uther Pendragon. The news spread like wildfire. The lords and barons were outraged. How could a boy, a squire of no known lineage, be their king? They refused to accept it. They demanded more tests. At Candlemas and again at Easter, they gathered, and each time the result was the same. The mightiest warriors failed, while Arthur, the humble boy, drew the sword with ease. Finally, at the Feast of Pentecost, as Arthur once more pulled the sword from the stone, the common people who had witnessed the miracle time and again could no longer be silenced. They cried out with one voice, "We will have Arthur for our king. We will have no other. It is the will of God." Their shouts overwhelmed the protests of the angry nobles. Faced with the unwavering will of the people and the undeniable sign from heaven, the lords had no choice but to relent. They knelt before him, one by one, pledging their allegiance to the boy who was now their king. The prophecy was fulfilled. The age of Arthur had begun. A new era of unity, courage, and honor was dawning, all born from a simple act of brotherly duty by a boy who was destined for greatness. The legend was born, and his name would be sung for 1,000 years. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from history and legend.